All right, joining me today is former NFL and FCF linebacker Max Davis. Max came out of college in 2012, meaning he just completed his 10th season at the professional level, formerly of the Colts of the NFL. Actually, you have quite the history in Indianapolis.
Yeah, yes, sir.
It's kind of crazy to see. I mean, first you were born and raised there, right?
I actually wasn't. I moved around a bunch growing up. I was actually born in Baltimore.
Oh, okay.
Lived coast to coast. Moved to Indy right before high school though, and then went to high school and college in Indy. So
Gotcha. That explains it.
yeah.
Everything I saw said your hometown was Indy, so I
Oh
assumed,
yeah,
but that makes sense if you're in
yeah.
high
That's where I
school.
went to high school. But yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So thank
Yeah,
you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I mean, how are you doing today?
doing great, doing great. Yeah, had a busy day today. I just been kind of every day is pretty much the same, grinding, staying in shape. And then, I got this personal training business that I'm kind of starting up. So I've been doing sessions all day, every day. So it's been a grind, but it's been good. It's been really good.
Absolutely. I'm glad to
Yeah,
hear it. So let's start with a brief intro in your own words, and then we'll get into detail here in a minute.
for sure.
So if you kind of want to just give us an introduction in your own words, we'll hear it from your
Yeah,
side of the story.
yeah. So basically, I've been a free agent. Well, I mean, technically, like you said, I came out of school at in Indy. Was in mini camp with the Colts here in town, and then really kind of took a year off. Just wanted to. I kind of contemplated whether or not I wanted to, keep going. Obviously, when you come out of school, especially from the Division II level, you kind of a big fish in a small pond when you make it to that point, and then when you get cut, everything kind of comes crashing down. So I was kind of contemplated whether or not I wanted to pursue it. And then I kind of fell back in love with the process of just getting better. So from there, I played in the IFL. And then about a year and a half. And from there, I transitioned to the spring league. I played in the spring league in Austin um, in 2018. There's a bunch of pretty good free agents, well-known names. I think Johnny Manziel was actually, yeah, he was one of the highlight like quarterbacks during that year. Did pretty well in that, and I actually got an invite to minicamp in for Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the CFL. Pretty short stint. They were already kind of loaded at linebacker. I'm American backers at the time, so just didn't play in my favorite numbers wise. And then I took another year off. I had actually had a workout with the Cleveland Browns in 2020, and then another workout with the Seattle Seahawks. This like right after the FCF season last year. So that's pretty much my football playing wise experience until now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like to start in chronological order, so I'm going to start all the way back in high school.
Yeah.
So back in high school, you were a three-sport athlete. You ran track, wrestled, and played football. I mean, during this time, was football your first love, or was it another sport?
Honestly, I actually didn't really start playing football till I was in eighth grade. I was a soccer player. I played soccer for 10 years before I even touched the football. But I grew to love the sport of football just because of the adversity that came with it. I feel like every single year I just got better in high school, and then those other sports were, you just sometimes you have coaches that walk around the halls and they look at a kid, they're like, "Hey man, you should wrestle," or "Hey man, you should do track." And both of those sports help supplement football for me. So I'm glad I did them, but I didn't really stick with them throughout my whole high school career. So I definitely say football was pretty much my love at that time.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So you end up staying home for college and in Indianapolis, like we talked about. What
Yes.
schools were interested in you outside of the state?
Yeah. So actually, what's crazy is I had a kind of a soft verbal commitment at the time to University of Illinois going into my senior season. Um, I was in a program in high school that was pretty tough, called the International Baccalaureate Program. Honestly, I probably had no business being in that. Academically, it was really tough, and but I was kind of a pioneer for in our high school. It's one of the first ones to do it, so that one of the deans talked me into doing it, and I kind of just powered through it, but I ended up getting that verbal commitment retracted. And then from there, I was kind of scrambling at the end of the recruiting process. So I had two other offers. The other ones were Eastern Kentucky and Western Illinois, just real late. And I didn't really have a good feel for those. And I had went to just visit the school locally in Indy, and I was pretty hungry to change that program around, so I ended up committing to that.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
I was not aware of that.
yeah.
Um, do you know exactly why your verbal commitment was rescinded?
I honestly believe it's because of academics, um, and that's what I mean. I don't think I was in the right um, curriculum. My junior and senior year of high school, I should have just stayed the course in terms of the college prep curriculum that we had in high school, which was, I mean, pretty good. I mean, um, our high school was kind of known for being a good academic school anyway, so should have just stuck with that route. But because of that, my GPA kind of dropped a little bit, and that's why. So
Gotcha. That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah,
So during college, you play in 46 games, rarely missing time, and you produce 426 tackles. I mean, which breaks down to just under 10 tackles a game, which I was amazed by. Um, how is it you find yourself around the ball carrier so often? I mean, is it just natural instincts, or is it one of those situations where you've got the recovery speed that no matter where the ball carrier is at, you're going to catch it?
yeah. I do take pride on being an instinctive player. I think I've always kind of had that knack. But I will give a lot of credit to my linebacker coach. He was a perfectionist when it came to you know corrections and film and on the field, and he took my game to the next level to the point where even if you made the play, you had to do it the right way, and because of that, it kind of gave me uh, that motivation to like any ball is mine. Like I got to be by the ball, and so that's kind of how the tackles and stuff started to rack up, and it just got to the point where like I wouldn't. I mean, I've never really cared about the stats or anything like that. Um, but it just got to the point where after the game, I start seeing 13, 14, 15, 16 tackles, and but this is how I played.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So on top of all those tackles that you racked up, you also developed a knack for big plays. I mean, during college, you produced 20 tackles for a loss, 5 sacks, 4 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles, 9 deflected passes. I mean, was this just again a perfect mixture of talent and scheme, or is it just you're just that good?
I honestly, I think that it also it kind of goes back to me having a chip on my shoulder after things didn't necessarily work out at the Division 1 level for me in terms of recruiting. I always had this mindset that like even though I'm playing at this level, and I'm not knocking the Division 2 level at all. There's some ballers, um, but even though I'm playing at this level, I'm going to show people that I'm different, and that's kind of why as I got more comfortable, I wanted to make more of an impact when I was playing in games, and so yeah, those impact plays, those game changing plays, that's what I wanted to create as part of my resume there at in school.
Absolutely. So just out of curiosity, did you primarily play the Mike backer spot?
I did. I played Mike in college. I'm actually I'm considered a will now. But yeah, I played Mike in college.
That's exactly why I was asking. I mean, 5'11", 227. That's a
Yeah,
will if I've ever seen one. So it
yeah,
makes perfect
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Which defensive front, if you had the choice, do you prefer? I mean, is it a 4-3, a 3-4, 3-3-5, maybe?
I'll probably say a 4-3. I've heard from like a lot of scouts that I'd be a good 4-3 will. Somebody that kind of gets protected up front and can kind of roam and chase backside and also be comfortable in coverage in the slot and stuff. So that's I'd say 4-3 is probably my preference.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I could definitely see you being a scheme versatile guy. I mean, definitely we've seen other 3-4 inside backers that are around the same size and speed as you, and they've been very successful. So I could definitely see you playing the inside in a 3-4 as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as we talked about, your size is ideal for a will linebacker, but probably a little bit undersized overall for NFL. With that being said, despite your production being basically off the charts, where were you hearing your draft stock prior to coming out of college?
I was honestly hearing that I'd be a guy that would be preferred like uh, preferred undrafted free agent anywhere from that to like seventh round. Um, yeah, I was primarily like toward the end of the draft. Kind of like be by your phone during that time because you'll probably get like something like an invite or something like that, which is exactly what happened. So, yeah, I feel like because I came from a small school, um, obviously, that's something that you're just not gonna be seeing like a lot of the guys from USC, Texas, Division One guys, man. Yeah, I that's pretty much where my stock was.
Gotcha. So as you just said, you end up with offers anyway, despite the small school bias. You ended up with Indianapolis once again with the Colts organization. I mean, did you have other offers at the time, or was this the only one at the table?
I honestly thought I was going to. I had received a couple calls like during the end of the draft from some other teams. But I was pretty confident that, they liked me based on my draft workout. And because of that, it kind of made sense that that happened.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I mean, you're also in their backyard, so it would make sense
Right.
that they've got scouts there.
Right. Right.
So you signed under the previous coaching staff featuring Chuck Pagano, a defensive head coach, and a name that could prove to be very crucial to your future, actually. XFL defensive coordinator Jim Herman was your
Yeah.
linebacker coach. So
Yeah.
I know I already asked you off camera, but have you spoken to Jim Herman recently?
I have not. I have not. And it was I mean, when you're in mini camp, and also during the pre-draft process, yeah, you do talk to those guys, every so often, kind of in an interview type setting. Um, and I may have spoke to him briefly, kind of like during, some of these other minor leagues, uh, in recent years. But no, I haven't spoke to him, like very, very recently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if we can change that a little, but hopefully get you a little inside access to the XFL.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
So you end up being released by the Colts. After this, you bounce around a little bit. You played, like you said, one season in the IFL, and then you end up in the Spring League. During your time with the IFL, I'm very curious. How was the speed of the game versus the NFL?
Um, it's honestly just such a different game. Um, from the linebacker position, you're kind of limited in terms of what you can do, and that's not to take away from the speed of the indoor game, though. Obviously, the play clock is faster. You got to be in pretty good shape. If you're a skilled player, you're probably going to play all special teams. Um, And yeah, I mean it's kind of catered toward the offense to put points up and be pretty fast paced. Obviously, the field is smaller, but yeah, I'd say it's pretty up and more. It's way more up and down pace wise than like outdoor.
Gotcha. That makes
Yeah,
sense. The outdoor is
yeah,
kind of a steadier, That makes sense a lot.
Right, right.
As we talked about, you ended up playing for both Wichita Falls and Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
I'm actually a big Sioux Falls fan, by the way. I didn't tell you that off camera.
Okay.
Um, talk to me about how the season went and your experience in general in the IFL.
Yeah, it was cool. I started in Sioux Falls. Um, I was kind of in a situation where I was playing behind a guy that had been there for a long time. Um, so they kind of gave me an option whether or not I wanted to stay there or leave, and I decided to leave and go pursue another option in the IFL, and I got immediately picked up like the same night. So that's why I went to Wichita Falls, and I actually ended up having a really good season. I got like defensive player of the week the first week I got on the team of the whole league, and I ended up finish up strong. We went to the playoffs, but we lost in the first round, so it was cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you kind of prefaced my next question. Great. In week 8, I assume that's the week you signed with them. You ended up winning Defensive Player of the Week for Wichita Falls. I
Yes.
mean, you had a tremendous performance: 12 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a pass breakup. I mean, you were literally all over the field in that game. Not,
Yeah.
I know, the IFL is a very condensed field, as we talked about, but I mean, at the same time, that's still an incredible performance. I mean, how were you able
Appreciate it.
to just be all over like that? I mean, you're basically everywhere the ball was, basically.
Yeah, and it kind of because I had gotten released, and just for the fact that I wanted to make a name for myself, I was juiced up for that game. Um, yeah, I wanted to make an impact right away, and I felt really good, and I felt like the rest of the team when I had gotten there. I felt like they trusted in me, and so I felt confident, and yeah, I just flew around and made plays. What's crazy about that week though is, and this happens a lot in pro sports that a lot of people don't kind of talk about. When I had signed with them, they had kind of told me like, yeah, you're gonna be the guy. So I'm getting there, you know, I get down to Texas and I'm thinking, okay, like I'm gonna walk in, like take the reins and get going. But when I walked in the office, the coach's office, there were 3 other dudes there, and he literally, and they all were brought in too. And he was like, all right, 2 of you are going home. One of you is gonna be a backup, and the other guy's starting like after today's practice, because it was a Wednesday. The next day you got to walk through, and then you kind of getting ready for the game the day after that. So I ended up balling out that practice and got the nod. In a high pressure situation, that was pretty cool, and I was proud that I was able to do that on such a short term. Um, but yeah, it was a hell of a week. Hell of a week.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Insane. So as we just talked about, you won Defensive Player of the Week honors at that point. How much did that mean to you, being your first professional award you had earned?
It meant a lot. It meant that I had some respect from the league. It meant that the hard work that I was putting in was, coming to fruition. Um, yeah, it was. And when you're in a league like that, you're trying your best to put good film out there. It was like, okay, I'm doing the right things. I need to keep at this, and it just gave me motivation to keep going. So whenever that happens, yeah, it's like almost like a justification. Like, okay, I'm where I need to be, and it's time to keep turning it up.
Absolutely. So just a quick shout out to a couple people who are watching currently. CT Locker Room Live. He's a guy who covers the ECFL, and he covers it in a manner that nobody else can. So definitely check out his channel. And then my guy, Vinny Schmidt, he is an Arena League player as well, and very good one at that. So definitely a guy everybody needs to check out. While I have you guys and have you on the hook, do me a solid. Share this video so we can get Max in front of more people. He's trying to make it in the XFL this season, and I personally think he belongs in the XFL. So the more people who see this, see how good of a player he is, see how cerebral he is, the more likely he is to get drafted, the more likely he is to get signed. So let's definitely put him in front of everybody we possibly can. But with that being said, back to the questions. Where was I? Does the IFL give you guys anything for those defensive player of the weeks? I mean, do you get anything to commemorate the moment?
I mean, other than the publication, they may do stuff now. I'm not really sure, but I mean, didn't get like a plaque or nothing like that. Got a nice little incentive in the check, but other than that, not I wouldn't say really from the league.
Gotcha. I was just kind of curious. You never know. Some leagues do, some leagues don't.
Yeah.
So while we're at it, I'm going to play a little bit of your highlight video. This is the one that you posted on YouTube. I believe it's the Tropical Bowl and some FCF highlights.
Okay, cool.
But we should be able to talk while it's going.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So let me get back to my questions real quick. So in 2018, like you said, you end up going to the Spring League, which was run by Brian Woods, the co-founder of the new USFL.
Yes.
Which team did you end up on? And who was your coach at the time?
So I was actually for that league during that year, they had split up the teams into kind of divisions. There was like a North team, South team, East team, and West team. I played for the East team that year. I want to say we had some pretty other well-known players. One of our quarterbacks, I believe, was Huntley. I think he played backup in Green Bay. Virginia Tech guy.
Okay.
There was some other pretty good guys on our team. But yeah, it was that was more of like it lasted about 3 weeks and we played three games. So yeah, I mean it was a great opportunity because scouts were all over the place during the week of practice and the games. So I thought it was a great opportunity.
Absolutely. So one thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that the Spring League was a league that's designed to showcase players but required you to pay to enter, correct?
Yes.
So how did you manage to make that work?
Man, you just at this point, like when you're a free agent, you kind of got to sacrifice all you can to scrounge up money or do whatever you can. Maybe you have a side hustle or job to finance yourself for these opportunities. Obviously, it takes money to run leagues like this to showcase people. And obviously, you're going to have guys that like The Rock, that are throwing the XFL. I mean, anything he does is pretty much gold. He's going to get the sponsorships and all that. But when some of these leagues that are starting up, you have to kind of come out of your own pocket to get an opportunity. So that's kind of, I didn't really mind doing that. Like I said, it's all about staying current, getting updated film, and putting yourself out there. And that's really what my goal was. And I didn't really care how much I had to try and pay to do that at that time.
Awesome. I like how you put that. Staying current, keeping your name relevant. That's something I try to tell the young guys all the time. That don't necessarily be too good to go to a league like the FCF or the IFL or somewhere where you're going to get film and you're going to continue to play because that's incredibly important.
Right. It really is. It really is. If you can, whenever you can stay relevant, that's gold. You gotta play. You gotta continue to play.
Agreed. So, did your time in the TSL help you get any more NFL looks?
Not really, to be honest. I had a couple connections that I had gained from the Spring League already, and also the IFL that kind of helped me. And when I was working out down in Miami, that also helped as well. People just put me at the right place at the right time, and I ended up getting a couple of those workouts because of that. So, and I think that kind of goes back to just grinding and continuing to get out of your comfort zone and and pursue, this game as much as you possibly can. You never know who you're going to talk to. You never know who you'll run into. Representation, all that stuff. It all plays a role in getting opportunities. So I would, it's more of a kind of like an organic type of manifestation when it came to that. So,
Interesting.
yeah,
So you spoke about representation. That's obviously a very important part of this world. Who
yeah.
are you represented by?
I'm not represented by anybody right now. Um, I have a couple people that I talk to that I try to um, like hear from and take advice from. But I'm not really represented by any agent or anything like that right now.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Um, so we talked briefly about your interests and connections to the 2023 XFL. Did you try out for the XFL in 2020?
I did not. Uh, and actually, what's crazy about that too is when I was working out down in Miami, by the time I had heard about like those workouts, I was kind of too late. I was getting ready I had a workout with the Browns that April. Yeah, that April. Kind of before the draft. And I don't know what it was, but I just got lost in that shuffle and I wasn't able to work out for anybody at that time. I wish I would have 100%, but no, I just didn't.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
stuff happens. You never know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so you played in the Spring League, which, as we know, is kind of the precursor to the USFL. Did you look to the USFL at all in 2022?
Yeah, I did. I tried my best to get in. You know, the I feel like a lot of the recent players that played in the spring league got opportunities to play in that, which is awesome. I think that's great. I think that's a good transition. Honestly, though, I just never had an opportunity to showcase myself other than the FCF for that league, and for whatever reason, I was able to get in that draft pool, but just didn't get drafted. So,
Gotcha.
yeah,
Okay, so we're gonna back up a little bit. I know this is kind of out of order, but I wanted to stay with the spring league stuff. So
yeah,
you end up in a personal favorite of mine, which is the spring or the not the spring league. I'm sorry, the fan control football league. I just
yeah,
I love that league. I love watching the games. It's so it's innovative. It really brings the fans into the game, which I love. I absolutely love it.
yeah.
But with that being said, tell our fans how much different the FCF is from your other experiences with the IFL.
Yeah, it's a different game. Obviously, they're both indoor. The rules are a little different. Uh, I would say honestly, I think both leagues, your quarterback matters like immensely. Um, but I would say in the FCF, if you have a guy that can run, you got a dual threat guy at the quarterback position, you're gonna eat in the FCF. It's tough. You have you still have your three down linemen and one linebacker on defense in the FCF, just like the IFL. But the field is bigger, just by a little bit. It's a little bit wider, and when that quarterback gets past that line of scrimmage, it's just you and him and all that space, and that happens a lot more in the FCF than it does in the IFL. And I'd say that's one of the biggest differences. Like if you have a great dual threat quarterback, you always have a chance to win in the FCF.
I would.
Um, you said what I'm saying?
I was just going to say I would agree.
Yeah,
Mobile quarterbacks in all these spring leagues seem to be the ones that are doing the best.
yeah, yeah. I would also say though that uh, the FCF was obviously it's different too because of the fans. I mean, the fans, they call the plays. Uh, because of that, um, you have the scoring, the traditional type of like football play can be lost at times. But it's a lot. I think they do a great job of like the entertainment standpoint. There's a lot more bells and whistles. when it came to the FCF. And like I said before, when we first got started, like the way that they treat the players, it's A1. There are certain teams, like in the IFL, you have a lot of great teams that have been around for a long time, but you have certain teams that it just it's like night and day when it comes to player treatment, facilities, all that stuff. You may get treated real great at one place, but there may be a startup team or a team that just doesn't quite have it together culture wise in the IFL, and they're just completely different. The FCF is across the board. They did it they did it right for everybody. So I thought that was another thing that stood out to me.
Absolutely. So you actually signed with them in 2020, correct?
Yeah, I did. I went to a workout in Houston. Um, in yeah, it was the fall in Houston in 2020, and got signed pretty much immediately after the workout.
Very nice.
Yeah,
And that was like kind of an open tryout deal, right?
it was. It was. What's pretty cool about that too is in that workout, I actually got a chance to talk to Wade Phillips, who's actually going to be a coach in the XFL this next season.
Yeah.
And he was pretty impressed by like how I was moving and stuff like that. And so I got to talk to him. He asked me where I was from, and I just thought that was a cool moment because I've known about him for the longest. He's a football guru and a legend. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I pretty much after that workout, I got signed.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I Out of curiosity, what was Wade Phillips doing there? Just watching some football?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he may be from like still in the Houston area. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Maybe someone that was running it knew him pretty well, and he decided to come out. There were some other guys there too. I just remember him though. He just stood out.
Yeah,
So
hard not to.
yeah,
He's a big personality for a coach.
yeah, 100%,
But
100%.
due to that, actually, he's one of my favorite coaches. He's a longtime Denver Broncos coach. I'm
Yeah.
from Denver, even though you see all these
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
that's cool. That's
yeah,
cool.
I've been rooting for him for a long time. But
Yeah.
you originally signed with FCF, as I said, in 2020. How long did you ultimately play for them?
I played the whole entire season. Um, yeah, I mean, I was pretty invested the whole entire year, and I actually was with the team that won the championship the first year, so that was a cool experience. Um, yeah, but I played the whole entire year.
Interesting. So, as we all know, if you watch the FCF, there's weekly drafts. Was that all run in season one? I know it was a little bit different in season two.
Yeah, they pretty much had you had offensive players that got franchise tagged, so they belonged to teams already, and then from there, um, the fans pretty much drafted offensive players single, and then we were grouped into groups for defensive players. So they had, I want to say, there were two different types of like linebacker and defensive back groups, and then there were two different types of D line groups. I want to say one was the heavy hitters, and the other one was I think it was like air squad or bomb squad, something like that. And from those two groups, if you got if you were in that group that week and you got drafted, you pretty much played for that team. So you always played two. Excuse me. You always played two games every single week because you were either going to be on one team for the first game and then another team for the second game.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that has to test your stamina being a defensive player because, I mean, like you said, that's a very offensive-minded league that's trying to be very fast-paced, and you're playing two games while the offense is only playing one.
Right. And the thing is, too, the thing that I liked about the FCF this year, from what I saw, they obviously had more teams. So what got a little frustrating the first season, and this is not a knock on the FCF because they were just getting started, but because you only have four teams and you had more players um, than what could go on those four teams, sometimes you may have played half the snaps on the first game and then half the snaps on the second game. And as as a with football, you're not going to necessarily the first game. It may be a pass heavy game or something, and you're not really getting that much action as opposed to the second game or vice versa. So that was kind of the frustrating part about season one. As a linebacker, because there's only one of you on the field at one time. But this year, I'm sure was a little better because you had, I think they had 8 teams.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so obviously you could spread the talent out more, and people got more even playing time to showcase themselves. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, and I definitely don't think that's a knock on the FCF at all. Like you said, they
no.
were starting out. They kind of started with 4 teams, so that was a little tough. What was it like playing the same team fairly regularly?
Yeah, that that was not only was that tough, but like also like practicing against the players that you were going to play against that week was also interesting too. And like I said, that
Okay,
was probably a big difference between last year and this year too, because we were doing all of our things during COVID. So they had to kind of group everybody together. Everyone had to practice at the same time because of COVID regulations. As opposed to now, this past season, I'm sure they split up practice time, so you didn't really have to be on the field for practice at the same time as another team.
gotcha.
So which is that's how it should be because you're not going to see the person you're going to play against really until game day. But
That makes sense.
uh, yeah, that was a little interesting, and that was kind of like something mental that you had to get over. But ball is ball, and when the whistle blows, it's time to go. So it's not like you really thought about it too much.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of curious, what did you think about the FCF when you first heard about it? I mean, with the premise of how you can pick plays, you're drafted every week. I mean, it's so much different from the NFL game. I'm curious how players looked at it when it had never played a game before.
Yeah, I just tried to look at it in the aspect of this is going to be an opportunity for film. I didn't necessarily care about all the bells and whistles and all the the celebrities and all that. That's great. Obviously, I like how they kind of pushed us into the spotlight all the time. I thought that was great as players. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna sound different when you have fans, and the type of fans that the FCF kind of tried to tailor to may not necessarily be your traditional football fan. So like when you have those people uh calling the plays, they may not know what they're really doing or voting on the plays. It kind of makes it an atmosphere that may not necessarily feel like football all the way traditionally. But like I said, I was just excited to put pads on, play, put together a good package of film and clips and stuff like that, and further advance my football career. I didn't really care about necessarily all the publicity and bells and whistles and all that stuff. That all that stuff is great, and it's great for the guys that do care about that stuff for sure. But for me, it was all about business.
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So with that being said, I mean, you said ball is ball, but I mean, compare the FCF to like NFL level. I mean, it is the level of play comparable?
Uh, man, I mean, the NFL has the best of the best. Let's be real. But there are absolutely good. There's good talent. There's great talent. You're always going to find good talent in a league like that. Because like I said, you got people. We're hungry. Um, and I think a lot of people don't realize the talent level between. Not saying it's like this across the board, but some of the better players in a league like the FCF, between that player and a player that's actually, maybe on a practice squad or on an active roster, playing on Sundays, it's not. It may not even be a difference. It may just be. those players got looks at the right place, the right time. Um, for whatever reason, we got cut. You know, I mean, based on my situation, I got cut in minicamp. You're trying to work your way back. You still have that same caliber player, but for whatever reason, maybe we just didn't stick. So yeah, I think caliber wise, like you definitely have players in the FCF that can ball and that can play in the league. But obviously, the NFL is the NFL. If you're that good, you're gonna play there, and that's that the merit type of atmosphere that football presents, and hopefully it continues to get better like that. Hopefully the talent starts to get noticed in a league like the FCF, so that more opportunities can come that way.
Absolutely. I totally agree. With that being said, there's a couple different things that I wanted to ask you. Heading into the 2023 season, you look to the XFL showcases. Did you also look at the MLFB, or was that one of those situations where it was not on your radar?
I had just now started hearing about the MLFB. I don't really know too much about it. Obviously, like we said earlier, because of The Rock and his notoriety and all that stuff on social media, that's gotten a lot more attention as of lately. But yeah, I'm starting to see the MLFB, and kind of curious to what it's going to be like and what it's about. So that may be something that I need to look into as well.
I would agree. I think at this point it's a little bit late, but
Yeah.
they will be launching again in the spring, supposedly. So they'll be trying to compete with the XFL and the USFL next season, as well as the FCF. So
Right.
spring ball is going to be fun to watch next season, I think.
It is. They need more legitimate leagues like that, because there's enough talent to go around. So that's good.
I'm so glad you said that, because I totally agree. I think there's more than enough talent to feed all these leagues. It's just a matter of fan support. So,
Right.
I mean, I say it on this channel a lot. If you like football, you guys need to be checking out the USFL, the FCF, the XFL, all these different leagues, because these are the guys that are fighting for their professional football lives.
100%.
They are the hungriest players that you will ever find in football, hands down. And I don't want to badmouth the NFL, because we all love it. There's a reason why we all love football, and it's because the NFL has built it into what it is now. But with that being said, the NFL has become a little bit more patty cake than it was once upon a time, back in the day. Whereas leagues like the FCF, the USFL, and the XFL, these guys, they don't hold back. They're hitting each other hard. It's fun to watch on another level, because, I mean, at the same time, like I said, these guys are fighting for their professional football lives. So it's another level of intensity, in my personal opinion. And I personally like watching spring football more than the NFL at this point.
Got you. Yeah, I'm not really surprised by that take. I think the atmosphere of these spring leagues, because the guys are so hungry to get to the NFL or get back to the NFL, it's going to present an atmosphere that's more, that may be more violent and physical, just for a showcase purposes. And I know that the NFL, once you're locked in there, it's kind of like a brotherhood. Obviously, guys are hitting, guys are, they going hard, but you have just so many guys that want to get to that level, that are willing to do whatever it takes at leagues like the FCF and USFL and XFL, that it's just gonna, the type of environment, it's gonna be violent. I mean, when you want it that bad, it's just things are gonna happen in a more violent way across the board. So which fans want to see. Fans want to see the big hits, the hard tackles, those type of splash plays. So I'm not surprised by that, by that comment.
Yeah, and like I said, no harm, no foul as far as the NFL is concerned. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not not going to avoid watching the NFL this August. You know, I will be watching the MLFB and the NFL actually, but as well as the CFL. I'm going to leave you with one last question. Let's get out of here for the night. At this point in your career, what is your ultimate goal on a football field? Is it still to get back to the NFL? Would you be content with playing in the XFL for the rest of your career? Where ultimately do your goals lie?
Yeah, I obviously the goal has always been to get back. The goal has always been to get back to the NFL. But right now, I want to play football at a high level. I think that's my goal. I think I still can. I think I can provide great snaps and great depth to a team. I think I'm just as effective as anybody else from the linebacker position. And wherever that is, wherever that takes me, I'm ready to go. But yeah, the goal is still get back to the NFL and I think a place like the XFL, that type of league, the USFL, whatever. I think those are great platforms to take that step back in that direction. And I would definitely be content, getting an opportunity to play in one of those leagues as well. So I just want to ball, man. I just want to ball. I just want to do my thing and have a great time and help give love and support to others that are trying to do the same thing, because we all in this together. So yeah, that's what it's all about.
That's awesome, man. I love that answer. With that being said, I'm going to let you get out of here for tonight. I really appreciate you coming on, and we will definitely have to check back in with you when you sign that XFL contract here shortly.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, and thank you. You got a great show going, and I appreciate you taking the time to have me on. And yeah, keep doing your thing, and shout out to everybody that's still grinding. Don't give up. You never know. You never know. Don't give up. So. But yeah, peace and love.
Absolutely. Hey, can you do me one favor before you get out of here?
Yeah.
Can you say, I'm Max Davis and this is Shady Sports Network?
I'm Max Davis and this is Shady Sports Network.
I appreciate it, man. I'm going to add that to our intro now. I really appreciate that.
For sure.
Have a great night, man, and I will definitely be following the rest of your career.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Sam. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Stay in touch, man.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good night. All right. Once again, everybody, that was Max Davis, a really dynamic linebacker. I'm quite shocked that he's even still available, to be honest. Watching his highlights, he's kind of like a safety on the field. 5'11", 227. I mean, that's ideal for a strong safety, quite honestly. I mean, he's an athlete playing linebacker, and that's the thing that the NFL is looking for now. And the CFL, USFL, all these different leagues that need these athletes at linebacker to cover tight ends, running backs, guys that are more like receivers than ever before. And it's one of those things where we're going to continue to see this trend where guys like this that are smaller, faster backers are going to get picked up because they're able to move sideline to sideline. And you can see it with his statistics every time he gets a chance on the field. I mean, you saw it in college. He averaged just about 10 tackles a game. He had a lot of splash plays that we talked about. I mean, whether it was pass deflections, forced fumbles, interceptions, sacks, tackles for a loss, speed, instincts, those things are important, and Max has them both. I personally think that he's definitely going to make it in the XFL. As we talked about, he's got multiple connections with the league as far as coaches that he's met along the way or played under in Indianapolis with Jim Herman. So networking is important in the football world, and he happens to have a pretty solid network within the XFL, and I think this is finally his opportunity to break through to that next level. As I said before, I'm not blowing smoke. I'm definitely going to be following along with the rest of his career. As you guys all know, I like to always keep up with all the players that have come on here. I want to see them succeed. I want to see them continue their dreams on a yearly basis, and I want to continue seeing them progress in their career and get closer to those dreams that we've talked about on this channel. That's a big reason why I'm going to be bringing back a lot of our former guests. Cam Eccles-Looper will be back in the beginning of August to talk about his season. I'll be bringing back Jordan McRae, the center from the Birmingham Stallions. There will be also a couple more guys. Ethan Grauward will be coming on. He was on the channel earlier this offseason. We should be having Brooklyn Hardiman back on at one point. There's a bunch of different names that if you've seen them on the channel, they'll be back to check back in, tell us where they landed, how their season's going, et cetera, because we kind of want to build like a little bit of a group of players that we can follow along with, help promote, hopefully get them to the next level, because that's only going to benefit this channel and our platform as we grow as well. So with that being said, I wanted to announce a giveaway tonight. I had said that I was going to do it yesterday. I totally spaced it out. So instead, I'm going to do it today. We are going to be doing a giveaway. So here's the deal. We cover a lot of different leagues. The XFL, the USFL, the FCF, IFL, EFL, or ELF, sorry about that, NFL, basically any football league, any hockey league, more or less any league you want. Here's the deal. We are going to do a giveaway for a piece of memorabilia. Now, there is obviously going to be a price limit on what exactly you can get, because stuff can get nuts with the NFL. But with that being said, from now on, you guys who are our regular watchers, whoever the viewers are that are constantly commenting, watching all the videos, stuff like that, you might get the potential to be rewarded. So whether you're a new subscriber, an old subscriber, it doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're essentially going to do a giveaway, like I said, at 1,000 subscribers. So we're at 215 now. It's going to take a while. I'm aware, and I understand that. So I want to make it worth your while. That's why we're doing a little bit bigger item. Like I said, it's going to have a price limit, but it's going to be within reason. It's going to be worth your time. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we go. I'll start dropping hints with what we're going to allow people to purchase. And basically the way it's going to work is I'm going to pick a person at random out of the comments. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. We're also going to do Apple and Spotify. So if you are commenting on any of our actual podcast or video content and you're already a subscriber, that's a very key part of this. You need to comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, if you do those three things, you are eligible for this giveaway when we hit 1,000 subscribers. When this happens, like I said, you are going to be able to choose whether it's NFL, XFL, USFL, FCF. Does not matter. We are going to accommodate whichever league you would prefer to get a piece of merchandise from. We cover a wide platform of leagues for a reason. I watch all of these leagues. I enjoy all of these leagues, and I'm a firm believer in supporting all of these leagues. So I'm really hoping that whoever wins this ends up wanting a piece of memorabilia from a league that is not the NFL. But I just want to preface this by saying that I am perfectly comfortable with buying from the NFL as well. I really don't care. At the end of the day, this is more about growing this channel and giving you guys a reward for being interactive. I want to see people commenting. I want to see people liking videos. I want to see people subscribing. I want to see people sharing our videos. And with that, I need your guys' help to grow. And with that, I want to give you some incentive to help us grow. So I'm not asking much, just asking you to keep tuning in, keep commenting, keep liking. And if you haven't done so already, drop us a subscription. Whether it's, on the podcast, on the YouTube channel, on Twitch, on Facebook, it does not really matter. But the main thing is here, you have to be interactive with the channel. Most likely, it is not going to be a person who comments once, because this is a random thing. So if you're commenting more often, if you're liking more often, if you're watching more videos, you're more likely to win. So that's a big reason why I wanted to do it this way. Those people that are out there watching us on a weekly basis, interview all these different guys, learning more about the players, et cetera, those are the people that deserve to win in my mind. Now, with that being said, I am not going to show any bias. So if somebody who's commented once, liked one video wins, so be it. At the end of the day, this is about rewarding our fan base for helping us grow so quickly. But we can't do it without your guys' help. So like I said, I need you to likes, subscribe, follow, share this, basically all of that. Keep commenting. But with that being said, I'm going to call it a night. I really appreciate all the support as always. And again, this is Sam Shady with Shady Sports Network, and I hope you enjoyed this interview with Max Davis formerly of the FCF, and hopefully here soon, a draft pick in the XFL.